Hello guys, this is the Successful Investor Club, the place where we learn how to invest and do not speculate. Today we're going to find out what is Bitcoin. We'll go through its history, how is it mined, what makes it secure, what are the regulatory risks around Bitcoin, and why is it considered a valuable and desirable asset. Bitcoin was created after the financial crisis of 2008 and 2009 by a man with the online pseudonym Satoshi Nakamoto. He published the original idea of creating a decentralized digital currency that would allow the exchange of money without the need of an intermediary to verify the transaction. The goal was for this currency to successfully store your wealth over time, a kind of new digital gold. It allows people to make a financial transaction without somebody charging fees, thus eliminating the need for banks or financial intermediaries like Visa or MasterCard. Therefore, it can disrupt the financial sector and render the use of current systems, which meaninglessly take a large percentage of each financial transaction. To this day, it is unknown who created Bitcoin and whether they are a group of people. Now let's talk about where Bitcoins come from and how we know that everything is secure and someday our money won't just disappear. Bitcoins are mined through a process called mining. You have heard that miners are solving complex mathematical problems, but that's not exactly true. Mining is the process in which very powerful computers are trying to come up with a hexadecimal number called a hash that is less than or equal to the target hash. It is basically guesswork. The Bitcoin code is designed so that on average every 10 minutes one of the computer's successes. In the case of Bitcoin mining, there are two rewards. One reward is the certain number of Bitcoins and the other reward is all of the transactional fees that have been paid. When person A sends a certain amount of Bitcoin to person B, he pays a small amount, and that small amount is again in the form of Bitcoins and goes as a reward to the miner who validates the next block. Again, every 10 minutes, one of the miners guesses the correct hash and receives the right to validate the next block. One block of the Bitcoin blockchain can contain up to 1 megabyte of information. Once the miner gets the right to validate the block, he fills it with the transactions, validating them, and then attaches the block to the current chain. Thus, it is called a blockchain. Still, in order to be officially recognized as the now original blockchain, all miners participating in the system must reach a consensus on whether the transactions are valid. If everything is valid, each of the verifying miners receives a copy of the new blockchain. Then everything is saved forever and they again begin to compete in guessing the correct number. This cycle repeats itself continuously every 10 minutes. If someone tries to lie, the other miners find out that immediately and this right of validation is withdrawn and a new miner takes the right to validate the corresponding block. The system works in such a way that is economically unreasonable for someone to lie, or in other words, to validate an invalid transaction. This is thanks to the proof of work consensus mechanism of the blockchain. If someone lies, it is immediately recognized and he has just wasted a tremendous amount of electricity and a lot of money on expensive hardware. Therefore, each participant is economically driven to be honest. All sent transactions are collected in what is called a mempool, and the winning miner selects transactions from that mempool and puts them in the block, which again has 1 megabyte maximum space. Another important term is hash power. The Bitcoin code is invented in such a way that the more people, or more precisely computers, join the system, the harder it becomes to find the correct hash. Thus, the Bitcoin code can constantly regulate the time range on which Bitcoin blocks are mined. Having many nodes in the system, it becomes harder to find the number, and more power is used. Having few nodes is easier and less power is used. The miner with the most significant chance to win has spent the most computer energy. This is because that computer and the person behind it has the most to lose. The more energy he has consumed, the more money he has spent. And even if he is dishonest, the other computers in the system will find out as they check the blocks before they officially attach to the current blockchain. The problem with this system is that the people with the most money for hardware and electricity will always get the reward. To make it more affordable for the little guy, there are so-called mining pools. In these mining pools, a group of people can get together and support each other and share the rewards. For example, say you want to join a mining pool and your computer contributes 1% of the computational power of that mining pool. When some of these nodes in the mining pool win the right to validate, everyone shares the reward in the proportional share to their labor and energy input. So in your case, you get 1% of the reward in that block. Again, to repeat, it represents a certain number of bitcoins, and we'll comment on that in a moment. And the other thing contained in the block are all the paid transactions from the users in the last 10 minutes. The main problem of Bitcoin and the reasons why people see it mainly as digital gold and not as a mean of payment is due to the limited ability to process transactions, so-called scalability. The Bitcoin blockchain can only process 7 transactions per second. For comparison, Ethereum can process 15, while Visa or MasterCard can simultaneously process anywhere from 5,000 to 10,000 transactions per second. This is mainly because of Bitcoin's consensus mechanism and block size, but it is intentionally so as they help to decentralize the system. The thing that will allow Bitcoin to reach tens of thousands of transactions per second, and in the meanwhile maintaining the decentralized character of the system, are the so-called layer 2 scaling and, in Bitcoin specifically, the so-called Lightning Network. In its entire history, Bitcoin has never been hacked. When making this video, almost $800 billion could be stolen by hackers, but even though this huge incentive, no one has ever beaten Bitcoin's defenses. Because to hack the system, you have to hack every miner in the world thanks to Bitcoin's proof of work model. This is a type of consensus mechanism, meaning every miner that validates transactions has to confirm that it's valid. Over time, the number of miners increases, which decentralizes the system. Therefore, control is even more spread out, and the system becomes even more impossible to hack, as more and more computers have to be hacked simultaneously. The original idea was to create a decentralized currency with a built-in deflationary mechanism that people could use for all kinds of payments. The opposite of the current world monetary system, in which absolutely every currency in the world is fiat, meaning that constantly every currency depreciates over time due to the continuous increasing in money printing. The deflationary character would mean that instead of steadily over time digging up more bitcoins, the code makes it so that in every 4 years the opposite happens and the reward for solving each block is cut in half, a process called halving. This is the main reason we have the now famous Bitcoin and crypto cycles every 4 years. So far, we have witnessed 3 halvings. The first time this has happened was in 2012. From 50 bitcoins, the block solving reward became 25. In 2016, from 25 it became 12.5, and the last halving was on May 11, 2020, when the reward for solving a block is now 6.25 bitcoins. This is seen as a deflationary mechanism because the supply decreases over time rather than increasing, which would make the mechanism inflationary. About 18.5 million out of the 21 million bitcoins have already been mined. By rough estimates, at least 3 to 4 million bitcoins have been lost, contributing to the deflationary mechanism and the future decline in supply. Not only will the reward for each block drop every 4 years, but many people have and will lose their bitcoins. Now let's talk about whether our Bitcoin can be stored and how to not lose it. We have two options for storing Bitcoin. One is a so-called cold wallet and the other is a so-called hot wallet. Hot wallet means a software wallet, meaning storing your Bitcoin depends on a third party. It could be some exchange like Binance or Coinbase, but it could also be an app like Exodus or Electrum that you download and it serves exclusively for storage. The other better and secure option is a cold wallet, which means that no third party stores your cryptocurrency. Instead, you are responsible for that. The only thing you shouldn't do is forget the automatically generated password that the hardware wallet creates for you. In case you forget it, you lose your bitcoins, which, as we mentioned, contributes to the deflationary mechanism. The industry standards and most used hardware wallets are the Ledger Nano S, costing around $50. Another option is the Trezor Model T. To send someone Bitcoin, you need to know their public key, a set of numbers and letters that you enter to send a certain amount of Bitcoin. These numbers, or so-called public key, is his address. However, to use your Bitcoin, you need to know what your private key is. This is the password needed to log in and use your Bitcoin. Here is where it's very important to understand that if your Bitcoin is on some exchange, software wallet, for example, like Binance or Coinbase, you don't have a private key. The private key is with your Bitcoins that are held by the exchange. What you have is a promise from the exchange that you will get your Bitcoins when you ask for them. There's an old saying in the crypto sphere, if you don't have a private key, you don't have Bitcoins, meaning you forfeit one of the greatest advantages of Bitcoin, the decentralized character, and thus the control is not in your hands. Even though Bitcoin was created with the idea of being a currency, this idea has changed over the years. For something to be called a currency, it must be exchanged. I give it to you for something, you give it to another person for their product, etc. But because of the idea that the price of the Bitcoin is going to rise over time, people don't spend their Bitcoin and instead they hodl it. This is a term that is a part of the crypto sphere and is a key in understanding the crypto market. It means that people hold their crypto long term, regardless of the current price movements. They just do not sell. As someone who is heavily involved in the crypto sphere for over 4 years, I can tell you that this is the foundation of this market. There is a large group of people that no matter what happens to the price, they will not sell. As part of that group, I'm telling you that even when the price dropped to 3,000 in December 2018, no selling. Regardless that 6 months later it rose to 13,000 and then it dropped to 4,000 by March 2020, momentarily, no selling. And even though the price is now over 40,000, no selling. People don't understand that every day Bitcoin gets stronger, safer, and builds its credibility more and more in the people's eyes. Someday after this cycle or the next cycle, Bitcoin could become a global currency. But for the moment, people are looking at it as more as a safe haven asset like digital gold. People buy it and hold it simply with the idea it has a built-in deflationary mechanism and a limited number of bitcoins will ever be mined. Thus, people are using Bitcoin as a financial instrument to protect themselves from the coming inflationary and global devaluation of various currencies. In times of limitless money printing, a technology like Bitcoin can have limitless potential. The unit of measurement in which a Bitcoin can be divided is called a Satoshi, and an entire Bitcoin consists of 100 million Satoshis. After a while, people won't talk in Bitcoins or in half a Bitcoin or 1/3 of a Bitcoin because that will be too much as an amount. People will use Satoshis as a unit of measurement. One of the downsides of Bitcoin is that it is very harmful to the environment. The energy needed to mine Bitcoin is enormous. By comparison, more energy is used to mine Bitcoin than the entire Czech Republic. But many people do not know that 70% of the energy used in the Bitcoin mining process is renewable energy. This problem will be solved by the next couple of years by the maximum. About the risk of regulatory regulations, in early 2021, the main banking institution in the United States gave a huge green signal to the crypto market, allowing any bank to start disposing of cryptocurrencies as they see fit. Thanks for watching till the end, goodbye for now and see you soon.